Hi, Paul here from Spitfire Audio, and I've got a piece that I've written today, a contextual piece, using Mervyn Warren Choir. Now, I just want to give you a little bit of background very quickly before we dive into the piece. Mervyn was introduced to us by Hans Zimmer a few years ago, and Hans said, you guys should definitely make a library together. And if you don't know of Mervyn's work, I've been a fan of his since I was at school with the Take 6 days. But if you don't know his work, you should check it out because he's written some incredible film scores, but also as a choral director has worked with some of the biggest artists in the world and has an armful of Grammys. An incredible musician. The singers that are singing on this choir are unbelievable. This is a choir made up of all black singers. There's a very different timbre to the voice and a very different style from the choirs that we have recorded before, and it's an absolute honour to be able to bring this sound to you all so that you can use it in your compositions. Now, Mervyn wanted to approach this very differently from what you might think of as gospel, because obviously that's the first thing that everybody thinks of when they think of a choir of black singers is gospel music. This is not that. This is filmic. It's much more in a filmic style. It's designed to be used in the same way as other choirs that you may have. And as I say, the singers that are in this are unbelievable singers. They've sung with the biggest artists in the world. They are insanely talented, including our mega bass section that sings way, way lower than you'll have ever heard before. So without further ado, I'm going to dive straight into the piece. So I wanted to do something that sounded a little bit crossover. It had some rhythm going, and it sounded like a kind of, I don't want to say pop orchestral, but it has an orchestral feel, an orchestral style of writing, but it's kind of rooted in harmonies that kind of are much more song-like. So that was the idea. I started off with the piano. I used the BBCSO piano to sketch out. If I just solo that quickly, I can show you. This came together as a part of kind of improvisation and part kind of having an idea in my head. So I had the chord sequence in my head. I knew there were some chords that I wanted to use. The section where it goes from G minor to B minor 9 flat 5. So I had some ideas and I kind of built it up over maybe 4 takes of improvisation, comped those together, corrected a few little mistakes in there, and then I printed that out. This is my usual technique. I printed it out and wrote a chord chart with it so that I would have something really, really simple and easy to direct my mind as I was creating the other parts. So that was the piano. I've left it in, but what I've done is I've taken out some of the kind of filigree, some of the ornamentation that I put into the piano part when I was improvising. You know, you kind of overplay a little bit so that it sounds a little bit more like a contextual piano, orchestral piano part. Now let me play the full thing of the first 4 bars, and then I'll just explain, then we can start digging into the individual tracks. I'll play the whole piece at the end, just so I'm explaining some of the tips, some of the techniques that I've used straight away to get you into that stuff. And then at the end, I'll play through the whole piece. It's also on the site. It's my demo on the site. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, what have we got going on here? We're going to look at the choir in a moment, and you'll see that I've used loads and loads of tracks. Part of that is because I wanted to use a different mix for different sections. I just wanted to write very quickly. And part of it is because I wanted to keep certain sections with a certain volume level or a certain reverb treatment separate. So let's just look at the top right now. So we've got some brass stuff going on here. And in here, I've got a mixture of things. So for the chordal parts, you can see that I've used some SSB, some Spitfire Symphony Orchestra brass. And for the melodic parts, I've got the Abbey Road 1 selections. Let's just solo all of that stuff. So it really blends beautifully together. And this is one of the things that, you know, it's my kind of touchstone of people getting so worried about mixing different orchestral libraries, different studios together. You really don't need to overthink it. The most important thing is whether it's been recorded in situ. My personal belief is that that is by far the best way to record this stuff, because you pick a room that sounds good, you record great musicians, you use amazing microphones, you mic it up in the same way that you would record music, and then the result that you get is very, very easy to use. So this is a blend of Air Studios and Abbey Road Studios, and you know, many scores that you hear are those two studios blended together because they work as an overflow for each other. When you know, part of the sessions are done at Abbey Road, sometimes there are sessions that can't be done, or pickup sessions, they're done at Air. And this happens all the time. It's very, very common, and you just blend them together. And when they sound good, they are good. So what else have we got going on here? Let's look at the strings. Now there's a couple of different strings I'm using. So I've got a little bit of a mixture. I'm using a few of the Hans Zimmer strings patches in here for a section where it's more of a special effect, because in those sections I'm using the tremolo harmonic waves for some of the different sections. So that's creating a certain kind of special effect. But for the body of the strings, I'm using mainly the Abbey Road orchestra strings. And what am I using? Most of it is the legato, and I'm just using mix 1. There's nothing special. It sounds incredible, very easy to use. So occasionally I'm doubling up. So here, for example, you see I've got the cellos in twice. Let me just solo that so you can hear it. And within the context of the entire string section, that sounds like this. You can see that I'm using my mod wheel very liberally, and expression as well. It tends to be mainly up the top, but I'm using it as an additional volume control just to help me shape some of those entrances and movements between phrases. So lots and lots of controller data there. There's a little bit of, is there a little bit of, actually no, there isn't any vibrato. I've just left it on full vibrato. I would sometimes use that to shape the melody again. And you can see that there's some of these where I've played very softly. That's either to get the very, very gentle intro to the sound. So that's a nice gentle intro, and sometimes I'm using it for the connection between the notes, and when you play the quietest legato transition, it gives you a lovely portamento. So it's super easy to play. You just kind of play and minimal tweaking after the fact. So in here, to get some Divisi texture, I'm using the Spitfire chamber strings. It works beautifully as a Divisi to Abbey Road Orchestra. You can see that I'm using the tremolo consort here, and again here we've just got the tremolo in those, and here tremolo consort, and then the cellos are just playing a unison part. That sounds like this. So works beautifully. Now in here, I'm using a couple of different loops, but I'm using them in a slightly kind of breakbeat style. So this is the incredible Charlie Clouds' library hammers. I'm using different types of loops from their frame drums. You can see the toms, the junk loop, and that gives me, so if I just highlight these, you can see that there are different rhythms that I'm putting into there. And some of them play through the bar, but some of them play this kind of rhythm thing. And if I just solo that for a second. It's just to get a little bit of texture in there, to get some nice performances in there. They're beautifully performed, these hammers loops. And then the other stuff that's in here is just kind of standard cymbals, some percussion, some nice stuff from Abbey Road Orchestra, BBC Harp, and that's about it. So let's get into the choir stuff. So what have we got going on here? At the beginning, let's solo the choir all together. For example, in these fabulous legatos here, you can hear that at the bottom of the mod wheel. You've got this incredibly beautiful, soft, delicate texture. And as you go up through the dynamics, you really get that power starting to come through. There's some really wonderful stuff, and I've used the humming legato. You've got O's and Oo's. Wow, and here. Absolutely fabulous sound. But let's switch it back to our legato, and let's just have a quick look at some of these other sounds. So I've got various different things in here. I've built up the sound of this part using a combination of humming and the R sound, and then I've kept it very, very low in the dynamic range. So if we look at the way that these all work together, if we just highlight all of those soprano parts there, and then we look at the way that these build. So if you watch, the expression control is kind of riding and gradually building up. Modulation is on a couple of them, it's set to full. And then with some of them, I'm gradually building up again throughout the part here. But if you look at these men parts as well, you've got a similar kind of pattern, modulation and expression. And let's just check out those men on their own here. So for the R legato, so you can hear as we go through to the top range of the tenors, and we've got basses here, and that's another feature that is often missing from gospel choir. The basses don't often get featured. It tends to, as Mervyn has explained to me, it tends to often be sopranos, altos, tenors. So this ability to bring the basses in, and not only that, but to have mega basses. And I'm just going to show you that because these are so incredible. You might think, okay, I'm not sure if I can even still sing a low E like that, but that's pretty good. Now let's go down. That's pretty low. So it's absolutely incredible. A low A is just extraordinary, and you've got it in there to really go to town. Now, let's go back to our track. So here I'm using the aleatoric longs. I'm just going to give you a quick blast of what they sound like. And I'm just going to play that in context with the whole track running. And you can hear that under there we've got this lovely melody going on with the tenors and basses. Before I go right to the beginning again and play the whole track down, I just want to show you these ooze that I've got going on, just the longs. I've set up the choir just to get a really beautiful, delicate sound. And if I highlight these, you can see I've got this beautiful chord for my final moment of the track. And I'm just going to play that soloed. And with the rest of the orchestra in context. So with that kind of sound there, I'm using the chamber strings as well to get a little bit of extra fragility into the string sound, and just playing them super, super quiet. I'm going to show you two quick things that I'm doing with the harp, two different techniques, and then we'll play the whole track down and I'll highlight parts of the choir as the whole track is going down. So in this section, I've got two parts here. So it's just a kind of, it's not really a bisbigliando, if that's the correct expression, because it's not quite fast enough. It's a little bit more broken and kind of played, but it sounds lovely in the context of the overall piece like this. And then here later on, I'm using the harp to do this kind of punch at the beginning of the notes. But I'm doing it, it's like a kind of spread chord, but I'm doing it downwards. So it sounds like this. And then the final one is more measured. So just playing that in context. And the end. So it's a small thing, but you know, these kind of little textures and little details are often the things that your ear kind of hangs on to, and just you hear it as overall as part of the kind of weave of the track, the texture. So let's play the whole thing down and we'll look at the choir. So there we have it. That's my little demo, my contextual piece using Mervyn Warren Choir. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's something that I feel like I've not had access to this incredible sound before. And it just blends really beautifully with the orchestra. It's going to be very interesting to see how people use this, because obviously at the top of the range, when you're really blasting it out full tilt, you do tend towards the sound that you would associate with gospel. But the thing is, this library has slightly less vibrato than that, and it has a different kind of style. It's the style that Mervyn built into it, is this much more filmic style. It's still unmistakably the sound of black singers. And for me, you know, ever since I was a kid, I've always watched performers on stage and seen, you know, the singers, the backing singers that are singing, and just sat there thinking, those backing singers are way better than the main artist. Well, this is your chance to have the incredible backing singers, and some of these singers are vocal coaches as well on high-profile TV shows. They're just incredible. It's a wonderful, wonderful library. We've got so much to thank Mervyn for bringing this to our palettes, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how you use it. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye-bye.